Hi and welcome to another video by Jimthecarguy. Today we have a Hyundai Accent. We're going to be changing the front and rear struts on all four wheels. We are not going to change just the strut. We're going to change the entire assembly. It's called a quick strut. It's the strut, the bearing plate, and the spring as a complete assembly. So let me show you what it looks like, and then we're going to go up there. I'm going to show you what tools you're going to need, and we'll get the job done. So this is what's called a quick strut. It comes with the new strut itself, it comes with a new spring, and it comes with a new bearing plate on top, as well as the bellows inside over here too. So on this car here, that's the way to go because it's very high mileage on a car, and it's an older vehicle. It doesn't pay to change anything else because most of the time the bearing plates on these cars wind up going bad also. So, all right, let me bring you up there. I'm going to show you what tools we're going to need, and then we're going to get started. Okay, here we have an example of what kind of tools you're going to be needing to actually complete this job. You're going to need a pry bar, an air gun. If you don't have an air gun, you're going to need probably some half-inch drive sockets with a very long breaker bar or a half-inch drive ratchet. You're going to need a screwdriver as well as a normal 3/8 ratchet. Like I said, some 17mm sockets. You're going to need a set of sockets to take the other bolts off. One is a 10mm, and I think the top is around 11 or a 12mm, something like that. 17mm to hold the one side of the bolt as you air gun off the other, and some tools to actually knock the bolts out, and of course our trusty hammer. So, all right, and this is actually new nuts for the top of the strut. You never put the old bolts in the new strut to hold it in place. All right, so first thing we're going to do is you're going to come in over here and you're going to see that, get some light over here maybe. Okay, this is the bolts right here that we're going to be taking off. These are the bolts that hold the strut in place. We're going to air gun out these two bolts right here. And when I hit this with the air gun, we're going to hold the nut around on this side here so that the whole thing doesn't spin. Then we're going to come over here and we're going to loosen up this. This looks like probably a 12mm bolt here that holds the brake line out of the way. So we're going to take that out also. And then up on top, right up over here, you're going to see the bolts here, there, and there. There's three of them that actually hold the strut to the top of the vehicle. We're going to loosen them up. So what we're going to do now is we're going to loosen up all three of them. We're going to take two of them totally out, and we're going to leave one partially caught on. So let me do that, and let me grab the air gun, and we're going to continue. Okay, we're going to air gun those bolts out right there. Now, actually, you know what? I'm going to show you. If you don't have an air gun, you can do it with a normal ratchet. You just loosen them up. They come right off. Now obviously if you have an air gun, you can use the air gun. Okay, then what I normally do is the third one. The third one, you don't take it off all the way. You leave it partially connected, and then we'll go back down the bottom and continue on the bottom. Okay, I hope you can see okay in here. Now we're going to take this bolt out right here, the one that holds the brake line to the caliper. And like I said, if you have air, you can shoot it out with air. If not, you can take it out by hand. Right, just relocate that to the side right now. And now, in this case, I am going to do it with an air gun because it is a little bit difficult doing it by hand, especially when they're so rusty like this. So what you do is you just come in here with your air gun, put it onto the bolt, hold the other side with the 17mm wrench, and air gun it out. Don't lose that nut and bolt. I mean, sorry, the nut and the lock washer. You're going to need to reuse it. Same thing on the top up here. Just hold it. Now, all right. Now, as you can see, These came right out. They slide back and forth easy. If they don't, you can get in there with a punch like this, and you put it on the nut. Keep the nut on the bolt like this. You put this on here like this, and you just tap it, and you can knock it out. All right, and that'll pop it right out of there without damaging the threads on the bolt that you have to reuse later. All right, so take these nuts off. We are going to be reusing them, so don't lose it. These come right out. And if it doesn't come out, you can either tap it out with that wrench, or you can just rock it back and forth with the 17 millimeter, and you can pull the bolt right out. Now, when you take this out, you want to be careful in here. See this here? This is your axle. You don't want to pull the axle out of the transmission, or you don't want to separate the tripod. What you do is you get in here with the screwdriver up on top here, and you just pry on it very, very lightly and push back on the strut so that you don't damage the tripod. All right, you just keep working it back and forth. And you see how it pops out? Keep this pushed in. Keep the rotor as well as the knuckle pushed in as far as you can. We're going to take our strut around this side of it. Like that. Okay. And now we're going to hold the strut up and take that bolt off on top that we previously loosened up. And then you just pull the entire assembly right out of the car. All right, let me get the replacement and we'll put it back in. As you can see, this is in pretty poor condition. All right, now, there's only one way that these bolts will fit through the body of the car. So you'll have to get up and you'll have to play around with it till you get it through. So let me get this up there. And remember what I said. We're not going to use the old ones. You're going to use only the new ones to put it back together, because these bolts are actually self-locking. You see I have the self-locking piece up on the top? Very important. You don't want to reuse the old ones. All right, so let's go up top and let's catch it up top. And now we'll take our new strut. Just watch you don't knock that axle out. And we'll put it back up through the top. Okay, I'll show you what I did. See? You just caught it up in the top, right up in here. And we just caught it with the 3 bolts. We're not tightening anything up, we're just leaving it loose. And now we'll continue from down the bottom. I hope you can see here. Okay. Now, remember we want to get this cable that it breaks to the other side of the strut, like this. And now we're going to push the strut back in and put your bolts in. Always put the bolts back in the direction that you took them out. If the nut was up in the front, make sure you put it up in the front. All right, and we'll just rock it back and forth. Sometimes they stick and they have to be tapped in a little bit. Same thing on the bottom. And we'll just tap it in. Now we're going to reinstall the nuts that we previously took off. Remember we took off those 17 millimeters. We're going to catch both the 17 millimeters on here. Catch the next 17 millimeter right there. And now you can get in here with your air gun and tighten them up. There is torque specs for this. I will look it up and come back to this later. We're just going to tighten it down for now. next thing we're going to do, like I said, we will come back and we will hit that with a torque wrench. It's not imperative. You can actually just tighten it in by hand, pretty much as tight as you can. I always put never seize on any of the bolts that I put back in that are actually rusted. And we'll tighten this down. This you don't want to use an air gun on because you don't want to snap it off. So just turn it in with a ratchet, turn it in with a wrench, whatever works for you. Okay. All right, now we're going to go up top. And we're going to tighten up the bolts up top. Okay, now if you have an air gun and you want to shoot these on with an air gun, you can do it. Be careful you don't snap them off. I always do these by hand because I don't like using an air gun on these bolts. And that's it. All right, so let's recap what we did. We made sure that the 3 bolts up on the top here are all tight. Then we actually came down on the bottom right over here, and we made sure that the 2 bolts that go through here, the 17 millimeter, are nice and tight. We put in our 12 millimeter back through here. That's tight, and that's it. We're all done. Next thing we're going to do is to do the same thing on the other side, and then we're going to continue in the back. So, all right, get yourself a cup of coffee, and see you in a couple of minutes. These bolts up in the top here, these are actually 12 millimeter. So we're just going to break these loose. Once they're loose, they come right out. Now you're not going to reuse these bolts either. You're going to throw them in the garbage, and you're going to use new ones. I always take out the ones that are more difficult first, and leave the one that's the easiest one up in the front, because that's the one you're going to reach in, and you're going to remove later on. Okay, now we are going to air gun off this bolt here and this bolt here. But before we do that, you're going to get in here with a wrench, and you're going to hold the 17 millimeter in the back so it doesn't rotate. All right, cover your ears. Same thing on the top. And hold it. All right. Now, take our lock washers off and don't lose them because you're going to need them again. They don't come with new bolts for this portion of it. Now, as you'll see, these bolts are pretty tight and you can't get them out. You don't want to bang on over here with a hammer. So what you do is just screw a nut back on, partially onto both of them. Right? Then just come in here with a chisel or a punch. The reason for leaving the nut on the end of it is just in case you slide off, you don't damage the threads. And then once you have them pushed out partially, then you take the 2 nuts off. And then we're going to come over on the side. Let me just show you this real quick. See this piece right here? We're going to just knock that out real quick. Let's see if you can watch what I'm doing here. Yeah, that should do it. What you do is just get on here with a chisel or a hammer and a very large screwdriver, and you just knock that piece out like that, and don't lose it because you're going to need to use this over again. Alright, now to get these bolts out right here, you can come in the back with your punch and just tap it the rest of the way through. Same thing on the bottom. And you get them out like that. Now, Get in here with a screwdriver just like this, and you pry right here. You just pry back and forth, nice and easy. All right? We're going to actually move this line here out, so you pull it down just a little bit. You got to be real careful with this so you don't break anything. And just move it up and out of the way, just like that. And now we're going to take the piece off here like this. Just keep working it back and forth. It's very rusty, so it takes a little bit to get it out. And there it is. You're loose. Now, I'm going to show you how to get the strut out. The strut's sometimes a little bit of a pain to get it out. So what you're going to do, I hope you can see okay there. All right, what we're going to do is we'll take the bolt out up on the top, the nut. We're going to lift this strut up, take that nut off on the top, the nut we had on top, and now we'll let the strut down. That's a little bit rough to get it out over here. So what you're going to do is you're going to pull it down, go over here like this. Turn it, pull it out. Hey, Tom. Oh, yeah.
Good.
All right. Okay. And you just turn it until you can free it through here. And you can get it out. The whole time you want to be careful you don't do any damage to this line here. You don't want to have any brake leaks. All right, let me grab the new strut, and we'll put the new one back in. Okay, now remember how you took the strut out, because that's the way you're going to put it back in. Remember what I said about the nuts? Never use the old nuts, always use the new ones. All right? Okay. We're going to put our strut back in, just the way we took it out. Twist it through the bottom like that. And then once you got it through, you push it down so that you have the clearance. Like that. And now we're going to put it back up through the top first. We're going to catch some nuts up top, and then we'll come back down over here. Okay, and once you've got it caught, you just hold it up. Okay, now we got all three nuts caught. We got all three of the nuts caught up on the tops. Now we're going to line up the bottom part of the strut over here. And the way you do that is you get in here with a screwdriver or a pry bar, whatever you can get in there with. And we try to line everything up. I always never seize these when they go back together just because of the rusting. Probably never going to see struts again, but I don't want to take a chance. We line it up, get the bolt caught, and you get in here with a screwdriver and you just maneuver it around until you get it to the point where it starts to go through, like that. And then you just tap it in. We're just going to put our lock washer and the nut on by hand right now. We're not doing anything else. Now we're going to take our second bolt, lubricate the second bolt, and now we'll put that through the bottom here also. And here you may have to just push this in a little bit to get it to line up. And then once you do, just tap it in. Don't damage your line. Put our lock washer on. And now that you have both of them caught, you can actually egg on them in. You hold it with your 17 millimeter and you tighten your nut. Same thing on the bottom. Now, everything is tight right here. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to put that line back in on the side right over here. Let me bring you around so you can see. This line here that we took off, we're going to put that back in here. Just pull it down a little bit, push it back in, get it into its position here, and you slide your clip underneath the bottom, like that. And just tap your clip back in, just like that. You see the clip is in place right now, and these two bolts here are tight. Let's go up top, tighten up the bolts up top, and we're going to get this out the door. All right, welcome back. All right, now we have these three bolts up top here that we have to tighten up. Now remember, you're not going to tighten them up all at the same time. You're going to tighten each one a little bit. So remember, I always start at the one that's the most difficult to get to. Check them one more time. Nice and tight. Now I'm sure you're going to be tempted to leave this out. Don't do it. This is a sound insulator. Make sure you put it back in. Just like that. And now this piece here, you just put it back in here, slide it back under, and these little tabs, they just snap right in. Alright, that's it. Next thing we'll do is let's flip our seat back up. Seatbelt out. Locked in. Alright, let's talk about this down here now. Okay. So what we did is we put our two bolts back through here. We never seized them or anti-seized them, whatever you want to call it. We tightened them up, they're nice and tight. We reinstalled that brake line so it's not going to be dangling around, and we tightened up the bolts up the top. All right, so now we did struts all the way around. We did struts, and we also did springs, the complete assembly. So now we have to get the wheel alignment checked just to make sure the alignment is within specs so we don't wear out the tires. And that's it, we're all done. All right, job is finished, and you should know this is a significant difference in the way you drive the vehicle. And instead of hitting bumps and having your teeth rattle around in your head, it should be pretty good now. All right, so as always, thanks for watching. You have any questions or comments, you want to talk to me about anything, send me an email. I'll be more than happy to talk to anybody about anything. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.